Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Yes, we have the weekly recap of all the top stories throughout the week, located conveniently here in one location. Whether it was Alec Murdaugh, the big breaking news in the Lori Vallow case, we have it here. Take a look. We'll see you next time. Big news in the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell cases. That's right. The judge, Stephen Boyce, who's handling the cases against Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, has ordered that the two defendants need to be tried separately. The judge ruled Thursday morning that due to Lori Vallow not being willing to waive her right to a speedy trial, that he would be forced to sever the cases and vacate the trial date for Chad Daybell. As you recall, their trial was to begin on April 3rd of 2023 up in Ada County. Now, Lori Vallow is now the only one that's going to be scheduled for trial on April 3rd. And the judge signed the order of transport so that Lori Vallow could appear in person. Chad Daybell appeared via WebEx or video Zoom, whatever you call it where you are. Very surprised that the judge did this. The judge, along with the prosecutors, wanted these cases to remain together. The judge has done everything he could to try and keep these cases together. In fact, even trying to justify setting the case for Lori Vallow outside of her speedy trial clock, which is 6 months from the date that she said not guilty. But ultimately, the judge had to rule on Chad Daybell's motion to continue, which was basically saying, hey, judge, I'm not prepared. And the attorney, John Pryor, would be completely ineffective if he had to go forward. In addition, that there was new DNA evidence that was coming forward that has just recently been tested, and they had to run it through on an expedited basis through a private laboratory. So everybody gets what they want except for the judge and the district attorney. Lori Vallow starts her trial April 3rd. Lori Vallow will be sitting there by herself, blaming her brother, Alex Cox, for the death of her children, JJ and Ty Lee. And you can also throw, a couple stones at Chad Daybell, since he won't be there to defend himself. Chad Daybell gets his separate trial, which what he has wanted all along. So there you go. Now you may say, this judge, why did he do this? He has to balance the right to a speedy trial as well as Chad Daybell's right to effective assistance of counsel. Apparently, the judge has been persuaded because, remember, Chad Daybell's attorney, Mr. Pryor, had made this argument on numerous occasions and that was denied. And if Lori Vallow had said, yes, I will waive speedy trial, guess what? Would have been continued with both of them. But now you have a single defendant that's severed. The prosecution has to get her to trial, or guess what? The case is going to be dismissed. Who is to blame for this big mess? My humble opinion, blame the prosecution. They're the ones that have been seeking delay throughout this matter. They've been the ones saying, we have to keep these cases together. They should have tried them separately from the beginning, but they were too worried about doing justice on the cheap. They should have said, this is what it's going to cost. We're going to spend whatever it takes because justice is expensive. But they didn't want to do that. And now they get to do it anyway, twice. You also have to wonder, why was the prosecution literally waiting until a month before trial and they're still testing DNA evidence? Are you kidding me? They've had 3 years. This is one of those circumstances. Don't blame the defense. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. It wouldn't have happened if the prosecution had been doing what they should have been doing.
Like many Americans, we got a dog during the pandemic. My quarantine dog, Miss Winnie the Bulldog. Now, Miss Winnie has grown accustomed to being around us all the time. When we were leaving the house, Winnie would have extreme anxiety, so we decided to look for natural products to help with her anxiety. We looked for the highest quality CBD treats, and we were not satisfied, and neither was Winnie. So we created a high-quality CBD product that absorbs faster and provides the required results faster. Baked in Colorado CBD treats and beverage enhancers are made with nanotechnology. The nanotechnology makes the CBD extraction more pure, also allows for Baked in Colorado products to work faster. Baked in Colorado products can help reduce your pet's anxiety, ease joint pain, and help with your dog's skin problems. Go to our online store and see what Baked in Colorado product is best for your dog. When you order at bakedincolorado.com Enter code WINNIE and receive 15% off your first order. We have a 30-day money-back guarantee. If your dog does not experience the desired results in 30 days, return the product and we will refund your money. No questions asked.
Next on the docket, Bryan Kohberger. Yep, wants everything done in secret as well. I don't get it. Anyway, the court in Idaho, as it relates to Bryan Kohberger, has agreed to seal some exhibits that were filed by Mr. Kohberger. What we know is that the court had a quick hearing. Of course, it was done via Zoom, and we all didn't know about it in the public. And this hearing was on February 10th, and there was a stipulation to file Defendant's Exhibit A, which we don't know what it is, to the defendant's supplemental request for discovery under seal. Like I said, the hearing was held via Zoom with William W. Thompson Jr. and Ashley Jennings appearing on behalf of the state, and Taylor appeared on behalf of Mr. Kohberger. The court reviewed the stipulation, considered the arguments presented, weighed the interest of privacy and the public disclosure, and announced its findings of fact on the record, on the Zoom call, that no one else was able to do. And therefore, pursuant to the Idaho Rules 32 I, 2, D, and E, just like they do in the Lori Vallow matter, the court finds it necessary to seal Exhibit A because the documents contain facts or statements that might threaten or endanger the life of safety of individuals. Really? And it's necessary to preserve the rights of a fair trial. And the disclosure would constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Okay. Once again, let's just keep doing it all in secret. You know, if one thing I think COVID revealed for everybody, people, is that it revealed, you know, kind of like when you walk to the top of the stairs and you're winded. It wasn't that you just suddenly became out of shape, but that it was revealed to you that you are out of shape, right? And what I think COVID revealed is that they can do whatever they want, the government. The courts twisted and bend their rules as it relates to speedy trial, and they think that they can do whatever they want, and they don't even provide a mechanism to challenge it like they do in Idaho, for example. So if you think you got any power, you think they aren't controlling everything that they want, and they just think they're going to do it, the government can. A little bit of a sidetrack there, but God, it's frustrating. We are citizens of the United States. We should have access to all public court files. Sure, if there's going to be, I don't know, psychological, medical records, I get that. Maybe your financial filings as it relates to the IRS in a divorce proceeding. I get that should be sealed. Everything else should be open to the public. Well, as you all know, after just 3 hours of deliberation, Alec Murdaugh was convicted of the murders of his wife Maggie and son Paul after a 6-week trial. Like I noted, 3 hours, a little less than 3 hours to return a unanimous guilty verdict for both slayings. Alec Murdaugh was then remanded into custody of the South Carolina Department of Corrections, and after a short pre-sentencing statement at the courthouse Friday, Alec Murdaugh maintained that he did not pull the trigger, and at the family's estate on June 7th of 2021, he said, quote, "I'm innocent. I would never hurt my wife Maggie or my son Paw," using the nickname obviously for Paul Murdaugh, his youngest son, who perished shotgun wound, blast, whatever you want to call it. That's right. In a very classy move, I think prosecutor Creighton Waters asked the judge, Judge Clifton Newman, for the maximum life sentence in prison. There was no doubt in the courtroom he was going to get that. But I thought the prosecution handled the situation with dignity and grace this morning. Murdaugh's defense team of Mr. Griffin and Mr. Dick Hartulian plan to speak sometime later, and Mr. Waters indicated that no victims had wanted to speak at sentencing, saying that it is a very complicated situation. Obviously, the closest surviving relative of Maggie and Paul is the son and brother, Buster Murdaugh, who testified in favor of his father at his trial, and he was there throughout the trial for his father. Now, as we noted, the jury of 7 men and 5 women took less than 3 hours before unanimously finding Murdaugh guilty of those murders. A juror has spoken out and said that originally 9 jurors were immediately convinced that guilt was the only option. 2 were leaning towards not guilty, and 1 was unsure. And then it took them, less than 3 hours to bring everybody over to the guilty side, where the unanimous verdict was read. Frankly, I was surprised at how quickly it came back. I figured they would at least taken a day or so, maybe even the next week, which was my prediction, maybe Monday after lunch, when they get their free lunch on Monday. But no, they had it seen enough. And basically what it came down to was that they didn't believe Alec Murdaugh. They think that he lied. Just like we noted, I've said all along, whether it's the attorney or the defendant, if a jury believes that you are lying, they are going to punish you. Clearly, they did not believe Alec Murdaugh's testimony at all. So at this morning's sentencing, Judge Newman called Murdaugh's conduct duplicitous, both leading up to the indictment and throughout the trial. He said that the Murdaugh story of a normal day leading up to the murders was not credible and simply not believable, and he was unable to convince anyone else of his story. He said that Murdaugh's families controlled justice in this community for over a century. A man whose grandfather's portrait hangs at the back of the courthouse, the judge said, which he had to order removed to ensure that a fair trial was had by both the state and the defense. Now, the judge went on to say that, as well as a known member of the legal community, you have practiced law before me, the judge stated, and it was especially heartbreaking for the court to see you go from being a grieving father who lost a wife and son to being the person indicted and convicted of killing them. Now, Judge Newman said he didn't question the state's decision not to seek the death penalty against Alec Murdaugh, but he said many defendants who had been sentenced in the Walterboro courthouse had received death for less heinous offenses, obviously referring to the Murdaugh family, who had been in control of that jurisdiction for the last 100 years. Newman asked Mr. Murdaugh what he meant when he said on the witness stand, "What a tangled web we weave," in reference to his previous lies. Alec Murdaugh responded, "When I lied, I continue to lie," he said. And the question is, when will it end? The judge asked Mr. Murdaugh, noting the jury determined that you lied throughout your testimony and that many would say you continued to lie in your statement to the court today at sentencing. So Newman said he could only imagine that Paul and Maggie visit you every night when you go to sleep and will continue to do so. Alec Murdaugh then said, "I respect this court, but I am innocent." The court then noted it might not have been you. In response to that statement by Mr. Murdaugh, the court said, "It might be the monster you become when you take 50, 60 opioid pills. You become a different person." So there wasn't anything for the defense to say today. Alec Murdaugh got his right of allocution to say that he was innocent. The defense said nothing. Everybody in the courtroom knew exactly what was coming, and that was 2 consecutive life sentences. Alec Murdaugh will die in prison. A lot of questions, though. People wanted to know, will the financial crime cases go forward? More than likely they will. More than likely they will result in a guilty plea. But if Mr. Murdaugh wants his trial, the state will certainly oblige him of that trial, and they're going to basically read the transcript from his testimony on the stand. So it just really doesn't matter. I thought the prosecution handled it, like I said, with grace and with eloquence today, saying it was a delicate situation and that their hearts go out, obviously, to the Murdaugh family. But Alec Murdaugh needed to be punished, and the only appropriate sentence was 2 consecutive life sentences. I cannot disagree with the prosecution.